Hello everyone and welcome to our 16th lesson, Introduction to Trigonometry, mini-test solving. Let me get my laser pointer and let's get right ahead into it. Here is the mini-test. Oh, I should have included that in the lesson as well, like I'm doing in the mini-test. Saves me some time on editing. Anyway, first task, second task, and third task. Here you go, you can screenshot, you can solve, or you're here to watch me solve them and explain them to you. For our first one, we had to solve the right triangle, which means we had to solve for all variables, so a, b, c, and alpha. We know that our angle, let's call it theta, is 35 degrees, and the opposite side is 8 centimeters. I would recommend solving the third angle first, so 180 degrees minus 35 minus 90 is 55, which is 55 degrees for alpha. Now that we have all the angles, we can figure out the ratios, which is the only thing that we can kind of do for what we're given. I have decided that from now on my mini-tests may not be perfect tasks like this one, where you must decide for yourself if it is actually possible to solve it as the instructions want, or not. And in solving, I will of course tell you what would technically be correct, but on this point I might also solve something wrong, as just like in real life, you won't know if you made the right decision. You can check, but oftentimes there won't be an easy or even a correct answer. That's why maybe it's best I do the solving process correct, but at random time I just put in the wrong answer. I may or may not do it. You will have to think critically and don't just listen to me. You're free to correct me in the comments. That will show me that you have listened and understood and solved it, which if you did correctly and corrected me, means I have done my job well in teaching you to think by yourself and doing stuff despite others telling you it's wrong. Because you have to have confidence in your own answer. Anyway, enough of life lessons. For ratios, we will use the trig functions, and let's fix a as our shortest, which means we'll give it to the relative value of 1 and adjust the other sides relatively to a. I have chosen sine and cotangent as they have a in the numerator, so it may be complicating it just slightly more, but if you use any other functions, you're free to do so, as long as you make sure that you solve it correctly. Many calculators don't have cotangent functions, so I must use the tangent and then use the reciprocal of it by dividing 1 with it. So here I have put the angles in the calculator and already rounded to 3 decimal places. Now this would be all fine if we took the ratio of a compared to c, but since we fixed a as 1, we need to take the reciprocal of both of these ratios. So I divided 1 with each of these decimal numbers and I got the second pair, which does look very similar to square root of 3 and square root of 2, but unfortunately they're just a bit off, so we cannot simplify them as such. Now I'm thinking that I did a lot of work for nothing, because technically I did cotangent, then I had 1 divided by it, and then I did 1 divided by it, so basically this is just tangent of 55. Yeah, I'm overcomplicating my life a bit too much. But yeah, these are our answers, because unfortunately, to last I checked, there is no more simplification to it. But yeah, if you test this with the Pythagorean theorem, you will see that there is a slight mistake or difference, that a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared. This would be a perfect introduction into statistics and errors, but this can all wait. The important part is that when you simplify, like not write all the decimal numbers, you will lose information. You make a certain error, and the more you work with that simplified part of information, the more that error increases. That's why oversimplification is the death of knowledge, because when you oversimplify stuff, you get misunderstandings like humans evolved from monkeys, or space began from nothing. Hopefully you see or hear what is wrong with these two sentences. If you don't, then you have fallen for the trap of oversimplification. As we all know, well, we do not know what happened before the Big Bang, and no self-respecting scientist will claim they know what was before, or that something was definitely before it, or nothing before it, because it's physically impossible for us to know at this point. So anyone claiming that nothing was before Big Bang, or that something was before Big Bang, is scientifically either undereducated or disingenuous. As for evolution, we evolved from a common ancestor as monkeys. But anyway, yeah, this is our result. Oh my god, I'm doing life lessons in mini-tests. That's crazy. For our second test, we need to solve for all three angles, where we know one is 90 degrees. Here, this is super easy. We have two sides and we need two angles, so for alpha we'll have the opposite, and for beta we'll have an adjacent, so we'll use the sine of alpha as its opposite hypotenuse, and beta adjacent hypotenuse. Sine alpha is 4/5 and cosine beta is 4/5. The alpha here looks similar to A, but if I were to write it by hand, it would look like it does in the triangle, with a long neck and a curved twist at the bottom. So I get the inverse functions, so I can insert the ratios, get out the values, calculate this. 53.1 degrees for alpha and 36.9 degrees for beta. We could also just get one of the angles and subtract 90 and 53.1 or 36.9 from 180, and we'd get the other angle. And now, because I was a little mean, the hardest problem that has yet to appear in my mini tests, but it's really not that hard, it just combines a few previous lessons. 2 to the power of 4 is 16. Log of 0.69 will stay as it is for now. You can simplify it with the rules for logarithms as we did last time. Hopefully you still remember them. As for the denominator, it's gonna be simplified to -5 because I squared is -1. Since we have our calculators, we can put in 0.69 in the logarithm. So we press the log button, and this will by default set us to the logarithm with the base of 10. And then we enter our value, in this case 0.69, and then click equals, which is roughly -0.16115, etc. But I'll write this as -0.1612. If you wanted to have a logarithm with a different base, interesting, this calculator here doesn't have it. Or I'm just blind. Possibly the latter. Anyway, so yeah, solve the logarithm and I have this. Now we simply multiply and divide. So cancel out the minus signs. This by this is like roughly 3, 4. Multiply that together, we get 0. My cheat sheet says it's 0.52584 and my answer says it's 0.51584. So here, if you want the right answer, you're gonna have to do this for yourself, because I'm not gonna fact check myself on this one, as I said before. But yes, now we need to get the beta, so we will take the arcsine of our long-awaited number. So whichever one you have calculated, put it into arcsine, and we get our beta, which is 31.05 degrees. If you have solved this correctly, you can really be proud of yourselves, as you're probably way above the average math skills, which, to be fair, are quite low lately, but still, every win deserves a celebration, no matter how small it may have seemed. You may have to solve this one for yourself, following the process, of course, because the process was correct. The numbers may just be completely wrong, to make sure that which one is actually correct, because this is one of the examples where I point out that there may be a different answer than I have written on the board. But yes, thank you so much for tuning into this mini test solving. This was a long one compared to the previous ones. I'm testing a few new things every once in a while, spicing up my lessons, my mini tests, hopefully keeping you guys engaged and interested in my lessons. But yes, thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!